lot, Minnie, for that introduction. We're talking to three very prominent social influencers and asking them how their ways of working has changed or has it not changed and what the challenges have been. We have Shivya Nath, she's author and travel blogger, The Shooting Star, Malini Agarwal, founder Miss Malini, and Archana Doshi, founder Archana's Kitchen. Thanks so much for all for being here. Archana, let me start with you. How did you react to the lockdown and pandemic? You know, many of us were blindsided, we were disoriented. It took us a little bit of time to get used to what we're calling the new ways of working. How was it for you? Was it a smooth transition, or did you have a period of complete uncertainty and not knowing what to do?
As a platform, I saw like in the entire lockdown period, about 2.5x growth, right? So,
Wow.
which was phenomenal. I had to work on my server capacities. I had to really work on the tech front to ensure that I was servicing everybody at the equal rate and speed, and having a great user experience. So, in addition to that, I also had to simultaneously work on content, which is very related to minimalistic cooking. Cooking with, the basic set of utensils because house helps were not there. So I had to, in fact, on the fly, do things that need not necessarily be structured, production videos, because I didn't have a production team. I was at home as well. So luckily, entire production setup was brought home and I had everything at home and I was able to, after a couple of weeks of lockdown, do everything myself. But the initial phases was all very handy, quick, and being very receptive to the user's needs in that minute, in that hour.
That's so interesting that you have to have that constant interactivity. In fact, you know what, I've been talking to people and asking them what's the big learning you've had from the lockdown period. And a lot of people have said to me, it's the loss of the fear of technology. You just have to be on Zoom, you have to be connected. The things that you feared about, that you didn't really go near technology, but now you're really au fait with it and you have to really get into it. And it's wonderful that you mastered it so quickly. But Shivya, to come to you, you're like me in a way because you're a travel blogger, and as journalists, we have to be kind of out there. We have to travel physically, we have to move from place to place, and we have to be physically out there. How challenging was it for you? Did you find that you had to work very differently to create content?
Well, I guess I'm now a travel writer who doesn't travel. So that itself is ironic, but I think the whole pandemic, the whole lockdown has been pretty disorienting for me because I've been living out of my bags for the last 7 years, just slow traveling around the world and working on the go wherever I am. And now I'm in a place where, I'm kind of getting to experience the other side of things. So really, staying in one place, going through the chores. And I think, Archana, I probably looked at your website so many times trying to figure out just the basics of cooking and baking. So it has been pretty disorienting. But I think also for me, I've been in touch with a lot of, people that I've met on my travels, especially in rural parts of the country. And I think the urban-rural divide has really stuck out because, for everyone like us, we can sort of, quickly get online and get used to the technology and really rely on digital to find new opportunities or even to begin connecting with people again. But for people who are based in rural India, and especially those who were associated with tourism, they've really seen, their incomes go down to zero, but also their social connections it's really changed. And so I ended up co-founding an initiative during the pandemic, which is called Voices of Rural India. And the goal here is that this is a curated platform where we invite rural storytellers to tell their stories in their own voices. So typically someone like me who's a travel writer would go to a rural community and, bring their stories online. But here we're inviting, people who are like guides, homestay hosts, anyone from, women in the rural community, anyone who has stories to share to be able to tell those stories in the digital medium. So in the short run, we're hoping that, this will result in a bit of upskilling in terms of being able to tell their stories through a new medium. And at the same time, create an alternate source of income for people who are based in rural India and who were associated with tourism. And in the long run, I hope that it becomes a repository of all this knowledge and culture that's slowly fading away. And at the same time, it's an opportunity for the rest of us to explore India virtually without having to leave our homes.
just to get connected and to connect virtually and to bridge that urban rural divide. I think that's really so important. And hats off to you actually for widening that platform in that way. Malini, now you run an enormously popular website, and you are a tremendous social influencer. Have you, did you find your followers changing a little during the lockdown? Were you yourself, a little caught off guard? Did you find that your followers were lessening? Were they growing? What was your initial experience, and have you now completely adjusted to the new ways of working?
So a couple of different things have happened, right? Obviously, I think as people are spending more time online, anyone who has a digital presence is actually seeing a surge in consumption because people are spending that many more hours online. And when you come to entertainment content, people are actually looking for a lot more of that. But I feel there has been a shift in the things that they're looking for. So for instance, we found a lot more of our self-care content, whether it's beauty or, hair or lifestyle, whether it's fitness, things that you can do at home, finding a dance class online, those sort of things are actually becoming more important. I think the other thing that was the big realization for me, even though I live online, is that I'm sure all of you have experienced this, that our DMs and our mailboxes are filled with filth very often. Yeah, creepy messages, all kinds of things. And so there's an initiative we've begun called Malini's Girl Tribe, which now has got 50,000 women in it, and it's by invitation, and all women are welcome. And it's right now a Facebook group, but we're actually going to be developing an app for it. And I find it's incredible how people feel so safe to talk about anything and everything. And I was amazed at the conversations they have, where someone was actually comfortable enough to talk about the fact that she's pregnant but doesn't want to have a child, or somebody's talking about where to go and buy a certain kind of outfit in Jaipur, and a whole world of who we are. And the best thing was that there is empathy, kindness, and positivity. And while we all complain about how the internet is full of trolls and such a terrible place, this just proves that used correctly, social media can be a real boon. Because especially in times like this, where you live alone, you might be getting lonely, you don't know how to take care of aging parents. If you have a community of women that can support you, amazing. And the other thing that we're focusing on is something called Ignore No More Online, which is a campaign I'd begun after all of us were doing these lives, right, on Instagram. And you'd see these messages pop up in front of your face, saying obscene things, saying awful things. And you can't do anything, right? And all our lives, we've been told, just ignore it. They'll go away. They want attention. But guess what? It's getting worse. And we made the same mistake in real life, where we used to ignore the catcalling and the whistles, and look where it got us. So basically, it's a campaign that has 3 prongs to it. One is empowerment, where women don't have to just ignore it and go home with that filth and things you can't unsee in your mailbox. The second is accountability, where actually there are laws against outraging a woman's modesty, which includes sending lewd messages. It includes stalking someone or using their pictures inappropriately, and people can go to jail. So we've actually got people arrested. And the third is education at a primary school level, because we were never taught how to behave online. Nobody gave us that manual, and it's up to our generation to teach the next one.
That is so to the point, because there is a netiquette, isn't there? I've always said there's etiquette and there's netiquette. We need to learn how to behave online, and loads of people don't. But I'm really heartened to hear that, support systems are emerging in social media as well, because we're so used to seeing social media as, contested and full of bitter abuse, as you said. But it can also be for support and for women to come together and talk to each other. Going forward, are you worried about monetization? Are you worried about your ability to carry on? And are you satisfied with the kind of budgets, say, that companies give to social influencers? Do they have budgets for social influencers? What is the monetization aspect of your work, Archana?
So my monetization is actually split 2 ways. One is on the website itself, which has its own based on the traffic and the display ad monetization. And so that, in spite of the traffic growing, advertisers actually cut. So the first thing every company does is to cut down marketing expenses. So definitely advertising revenue went down from India, but we have traffic from across the world. So the US advertising was surged up. So there was not essentially a huge revenue fall in terms of brand endorsements and So that has actually started pre-COVID itself. So pre-COVID, there was a huge marketing setback and cut down, and a lot of brands were actually cutting down on their digital marketing spends. And I could see that since last quarter, September, November, December of last year. But COVID levels, it's completely, it went down completely. And now it's picking up back again. But in terms of what there is a negotiation leverage which the brands are using, if I may say, to say, we are in COVID times, we're not doing well. So so we work around those things, but it's catching up. Nevertheless, I have certain principles that I follow, that I stay focused and true to my audience, and whatever it takes, even in means whatever brand endorsements or advertising I take, it means that I must give them my best, and because they trust us immensely. What we say is what, and they would follow us, right? So it's important. I've sort of set those rules and principles. So no matter what brand and X number of neem washes and sanitizers and things like that, I've sort of tried to stay away from them, because that becomes too much clutter.
Right.
And
Are you similarly optimistic, or are you worried about, because the travel industry, as an industry, of course, is really facing quite a crisis because of the restrictions on movement and all of that. And but are you confident that digital, exploration, digital travel, virtual travel, all of this, is it attracting advertising? Are brands, are brands interested in endorsing virtual travel?
So for me, I don't really do display advertising on my blog or my website. The traffic has been pretty up and down since the whole pandemic began, simply because people are consuming less travel content. They are planning, less travels now. So actually my posts on lifestyle are doing better, like posts around sustainability, veganism, climate change, and so on. But the travel content has, it's seen a different kind of shift. Although I have to agree with Archana that it's slowly picking up, but it's not back to pre-COVID levels.
That's very interesting. You're saying that you're also saying it's picking up.
Yeah. I think the traffic is picking up, but I don't think that it's the right time for me to be promoting, traveling within India. So, I don't think it's responsible at the moment, and it's probably not safe either, because we don't know, there are new findings every day about the long-term implications of catching this. And also in terms of, there are so many communities within India that have little or no access to healthcare. So I know that, for example, in Spiti in Himachal Pradesh, which is this high altitude, very remote valley, takes 2 days to get there. And there the community has voluntarily come together and said that this hurts our tourism income, like this hurts our only livelihood, but we're going to be shut for tourism until, there is like a solution. So all the homestays, all the hotels, all the restaurants, everything is shut. And still travelers are showing up there because Himachal Pradesh is open to tourism.
If you reinvented, in a way, just pure travel blogging to more kind of welfareist service delivery, connecting healthcare, if you've reinvented your content that way, then that surely should help you get much more responsible advertising, right?
Yeah, for sure. So the kind of like collaborations that I've been doing at the moment are definitely around either planning future travels or looking at, just redefining travel in itself, whether that's being a digital nomad, whether it's slow travel, it's working from home, it's finding another home to work from. So definitely evolving like the travel content to be a lot broader and to be a lot more responsible as well. Because like Archana said, we owe it to our readers. And I think we owe it to the industry as well, because, do we really want to go back to the pre-COVID kind of tourism, which was, there was over-tourism, this was mass tourism, and a lot of places are environmentally threatened. So do we really want to go back to that level of traveling, or do we really want to redefine travel itself?
Perfectly said. Has COVID actually taught us to be more responsible, sustainable human beings? In that sense, has it been a reality check that has come to us from nature? Malini, now, you were saying how the demands of your audience is different, but and they're interested in talking a lot more about wellness, about their well-being, about being fit, about nutrition, less about lifestyle and celebrities, because as you said, that's not happening. So are you worried about monetization? Are you worried that going forward, it's going to be difficult to, it's going to be difficult to monetize your content as it is? Or do you feel like, Shivya, that you need to reinvent as well in order to get more of the kind of advertising that readers the viewers will respond to more?
So for us, we never really monetized our celebrity content, right? Because, we never got paid to promote a celebrity. We've never done that. It's actually just editorial content, whenever we cover those things. The thing is that when the Miss Mahani brand started out, it was me writing my own blog about my experiences in Bombay and, my brush.
It's lovely. I love it, by the way. I really love it.
It was really that. And then it's really changed over time. And if you look at it now, it's really not just about Bollywood at all. We branched out into fashion, beauty, lifestyle. And now really a piece of my heart is Girl Tribe, which is this community for women. So it's really been about various things. When you look at the business and, people still think of me as this Bollywood blogger, but we have so many pieces, right? So we now have our in-house ad agency, which is Agent M Creative. We have an entire influencer studio called Ignite, where we actually help influencers get work. And so a lot of brands are coming to us and saying, okay, which influencers should we use for what? Because there's so many out there. And the influencers similarly may not have the wherewithal or know how to do the whole sales and the negotiation. So we're kind of the Seema auntie of the situation, matching. Okay? So we'll find the brand and we'll find the influencer, find the right fit, and we'll execute everything as well. So we actually have a lot of monetization opportunities here. The interesting thing I've seen is the shift in the brands that are advertising. Just like Archana said, you're seeing a lot of sanitizers, you're seeing all of that. We have seen such a big push in interesting appliances. Washing machines, dishwashers, hoovers. These are all things that now that we have to clean our own houses that we never thought about. I'm like, okay, I need this Dyson, or I need my own hair products to do my, my Zoom calls, where normally I would have had someone do hair and makeup. So I think the kind of advertising has changed a bit, but even again in hospitality, it's opening up because a lot of hotels are promoting staycations. There's a lot of, surprisingly, people are still shopping. Retail is still, a lot of people are still interested in their fast fashion. A lot of people are looking at great ways to order in food or, pack their houses with all the, not just supplements, but actually just healthy organic food where they know it's coming from a safe place. Home delivery has also become such a big, the shift from going to a restaurant to creating that restaurant environment at home. And so for us, the great thing is that we've never really worked alone, right? We've always worked as a collective with various brands across the country. And we've tried to create opportunities for digital influencers. So it's for us, it's like working with anyone and everyone, whoever wants to create good content. The only thing is when people are consuming the content, maybe there aren't that many red carpet events to look at, but they're also very happy looking at what celebrities are doing at home. They're also very happy connecting with each other.
On that, I want to actually come to you for the last question because we're out of time. Archana, now, as we were talking, there are trolls on social media. There are people spreading hate speech. There's people spreading toxic messages. But as an influencer, are you acutely conscious? I know that I am, that it's important to be very responsible. And, you have your followers out there. They're expecting fact-based, as far as I'm concerned, fact-based, genuine, verified information. And that's what I try to give them. So, are you also similarly conscious that responsibility is now key? Because so many people are online, they're depending on the online content, they're depending on you. Is responsibility and social responsibility more important than ever?
Absolutely. I completely believe in being socially responsible. In addressing trolls. So I think that's been pretty, I don't take it to heart. I don't ignore it as well. If it is a serious troll, I would face it. I would send a long note and put it up on public. And I would have millions of users supporting me and, facing that troll together. So we're all in it together. So that's the way I've dealt with trolls. And if it's individual trolls, it just takes care of it for itself. I respond to the user in such a way that I put him in a place or her in a place where he feels nice. And they wouldn't know how to respond to what I have said. And so that's, I always try to deal with everything positively. I strongly believe if anyone who's commenting actually takes that little bit of time to respond to anyone's message or comment in a very thoughtful, mindful, and a positive way. Not thinking about oneself, but in terms of how would that person feel after I've messaged it, right? So that's very critical.
And Shivya, I know that you're very keen to be responsible and to be a responsible social media influencer. You were talking about your sense of responsibility. What would you like to say on that? What do you understand by being a responsible social media influencer?
Yeah, so I think in the travel space, it extends beyond like just the online interactions, but really comes down to also like the kind of content that you create and share. And I think we only need to go to, there are so many places around the world where you can see, like the influencer phenomena or the Instagram phenomena. Like you can see how Instagrammable places, which were, they were originally completely different, but now because of the way that they've been promoted on Instagram or on social media, that their ecology is in trouble. Like the local people are having a tough time with over tourism and things like that. So I think in the travel space, it really comes down to the kind of places that you choose to visit and promote and how you promote them as well. And, it's very easy to, go to a beautiful place and just plaster that all over Instagram and get all these likes and followers. But what happens long term to the place is the thing that we all need to think about. And I think I'm going to draw from Spider-Man when I say this, that with great influence comes great responsibility.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
I think if it means, sacrificing some of your likes for that, I think it's worth it. And personally for me, when I land up in a place like that, which has Instagram potential but hasn't been discovered yet, I try not to geotag those places, because then you're also kind of keeping that curiosity or mystery of travel alive to discover it yourself rather than just see it on Instagram and go there with, millions of other people. So I think in that sense, responsibility in travel extends so much further than, just online interactions, but also really what you are choosing to create.
Absolutely. You're not just traveling, but you're empathizing and you're actually living that experience. And what I've noticed is, this time when there's been so much suffering and so many people have been destabilized, and, there've been all of us who are fortunate to be comfortable, those of us who are not so well looked after. There's been tremendous trauma. And what I've been heartened by as a journalist is how many people have actually come forward to help, to help the needy, to help the poor, to help those who are migrating, to help labor. So that has been a tremendous efflorescence of caring. I think that has happened online. And Malini, do you feel again that that part of responsibility is also about showing people how to care and making people want to care as well?
I think it's so important. And I think the great thing with influencers and what resonates with people is the authenticity of them. And so it gives you an opportunity to be sad sometimes, to be unhappy, to have had a crappy day and talk about it. And I'm sure Shivya, Archana, and you must have experiences as well when sometimes you come out and say, I had a really bad day. The amount of love that pours in is fantastic. And I think the problem is that online, what happens is a lot of it is lost in translation. The wrong punctuation or the wrong emoji can be so misconstrued. And if we actually just took a moment to give the other person the benefit of the doubt, things would be so different. So my therapist gave me this amazing advice. She said, always approach the world with a shield of empathy and kindness. Now, this is not necessarily for other people. It's for yourself. Because when you approach people with empathy and kindness, you become aware that they're probably going through their own little storm of stress. And that's usually probably the anatomy of every troll. Anxiety, loneliness, anger comes from those places. So if you have a shield of empathy and kindness, you will realize two things. One, that they must be going through something. And two, that it's not about me. So the anger that they're lashing out with actually has nothing to do with me. Because our automatic reaction when someone is mean to us is like, but why did they do that? They're wrong to do it. I didn't do anything. You don't need to defend yourself when somebody trolls you. It's not your problem. It's their problem. Yeah, and we have to learn to get to a place where we don't take it personally. And I think as long as we do that, we'll come back with a greater deal of confidence. And that's literally our goal. And I actually would love for you to join Malini's Girl Tribe to see empathy, kindness, and positivity make the biggest difference in the world. So I'm a great believer that positivity can clean the internet. We just all have to throw it out there.
Thank you for being a really wonderful panel. Archana, Shivya, Malini, you were informed, you were substantive, you gave us tremendous insights. Thanks a lot.